Hello everyone and welcome to episode 14 of my Orc Shaman level 1 through 60 playthrough in the Season of Discovery, where today is going to be a very jam-packed action-filled episode like I talked about last episode, where there are a ton of things that I want to do in this episode. And starting off, it is right before phase 3 of the Season of Discovery begins, so we are currently still in phase 2 as I am recording this, but when I upload this it will be phase 3, and the majority of this episode will be phase 3. But as I said, there are a lot of things that I want to do in this episode, where today I want to go ahead and take a look at one of the festivals in World of Warcraft, where there are quite a few festivals that happen over the years, as we have been exploring some of them in the classic version of the game, and then there's a lot more in the future versions of the game, where today I want to take a look at Noblegarden, which is kind of like an Easter festival in World of Warcraft that focuses a lot on like dyed eggs and like finding the eggs around towns, and like you become like a bunny and you can get like a bunny companion pet. And I just want to take a quick look at all of that, and I think we might get a little bit of experience from doing this as well, which is exciting. And Noblegarden in the classic WoW version of the game is pretty different than how it is in like the current Wrath of the Lich King version of the game, and then of course that has evolved into the modern retail WoW version of the game, where in classic WoW it is pretty limited in what you can do, where basically there is one activity going on where there are no vendors and there's like no like special currency to buy like special items like we see in future versions of the game, including like some mounts that I think there was a new mount added this year or something. But basically you can go ahead and run around all of the starting zones and you can look for a brightly colored egg, and we can go ahead and just run around Durotar a lot, and we can keep our eyes out. We see a wandering swordsman right there for Season of Discovery, but that is not what I want. And basically in the brightly colored eggs, there's not a lot in the classic WoW version of the game. I believe there's like sometimes like a few copper that you can get, and then I think there's like a chocolate you can eat, and then basically there's a chance for you to get like a decorative armor piece, so like an elegant dress or like a white tuxedo shirt or a black tuxedo pants, I believe, are items that you can get from just opening the eggs, which is kind of weird that there's like clothing inside the eggs, but you know, it makes sense. But let's go ahead and just run around here a little bit, and hopefully we can find one, and hopefully I am not just like running around aimlessly and we like just don't find anything, and Noblegarden is not actually live in the classic version of the game, where I actually just googled and it only lasts for 1 day in classic WoW, and I am 2 days late on that, so that's a little embarrassing. But to just hop over to my Night Elf Druid character that's been in a couple of my hardcore episodes, I can go ahead and take my egg basket that I have right here, and I can throw it onto my action bar, where this is the Wrath of the Lich King version of the game, where it is a little different than it is in classic WoW, where there are more rewards, and basically all the eggs are in the main towns, where in Wrath of the Lich King each faction has 4 different like main towns right outside of their capital city, where they can go and find eggs like this one, where we have this brightly colored egg that I can go ahead and open up, and I got a Noblegarden chocolate, which I can eat for like a small buff, or I can eat like 25 of them for an achievement, or I can spend them as currency, where there's a tiny colored egg right there, which I think is from like the rabbits around here. But we can come to the merchant, where we can buy a variety of different things like these bunny ears, which is fun, and then here are like the tuxedo clothing items that I talked about, and that is pretty much it. So hello to Wrath of the Lich King, and back to Season of Discovery, where now that we have explored a Noblegarden a little bit and in a bit of a scuffed way, I want to go ahead and continue on with the next thing in this episode, where I want to go ahead and return to Stranglethorn Vale, and I want to continue our questing experience there, and I want to talk about a couple of things as we do that, where basically we are going to start a little bit of questing in Stranglethorn Vale, and then it's probably going to be the new phase, and then I'll go ahead and continue exploring Stranglethorn Vale as the new phase releases, and then we can go ahead and chat about a few different things with the phase and explore a couple of other things. But let's go ahead and take the Zeppelin once it arrives to Stranglethorn Vale, and we can begin our explorations of the Vale, where let's go over what's new and changed in Phase 3 of the Season of Discovery, and down in the description I'll throw a link to the blog post that I am reading from. But new runes are available to discover. Each class has access to at least 6 new runes in Phase 3, where I haven't spent a lot of time exploring runes recently, where I'm planning on kind of going back and taking a look at a few of the different runes that have been added, and ones that will be added in the future, but that's going to be a little bit from now. But a new activity called Nightmare Incursions has been added. Enter missions to face off against the new demon creatures that have taken up residence just outside the dream portals in each zone. Players who wish to participate in these activities should seek out the field captain NPCs a short distance away from each of the dream portals in Duskwood, Ashenvale, Fairless, and Hinterlands to begin their adventures. Near each field NPC, there's also an Emerald Warden's Quartermaster that will sell players special nightmare-only consumables to help you prepare for the dangers that will await you. As you complete more missions and gain reputation with the Emerald Wardens, you also gain access to other powerful rewards. This content is level banded, with Duskwood being the level 25 incursion area, Ashenvale being level 40, and Fairless and Hinterlands being level 50 content. Where I think this level banding is kind of interesting because it's nice that they went back and they added some lower level options for people to do. But I find it interesting that Duskwood is the level 25 incursion area and Ashenvale is the level 40 incursion area, because we see with Phase 1 of Season of Discovery, Ashenvale was kind of like the big zone of the phase, where the phase level cap was level 25, so it kind of makes a little bit of sense that they would have Ashenvale be like the level 25 zone for like these different new incursions, where then Duskwood, which is right next to Stranglethorn Vale, which was like the big zone for Phase 2 of Season of Discovery, where the level cap was 40, it makes more sense that Duskwood would be the level 41, so it's kind of interesting that they flipped this. But additionally, Duskwood and Ashenvale are both zones that are easy for level 25 Alliance players to get to, but it's a little bit more tricky for level 25 Horde players to get to, because the northern reaches of Stranglethorn Vale are like a level 30 area, and it's not too hard to get to, but it's definitely a little inconvenient for like level 25 Horde players to get through the northern Stranglethorn area, where it's not inconvenient for either Horde or Alliance to get to the Ashenvale level 25 area, and then once Horde players at level 40, going through Northern Stranglethorn is not an issue. So just like a very interesting thing that they did here. But the mission quests related to this content are considered elite quests, so going into the Nightmare with a 3 to 5 player group is recommended. The Temple of Atal Hakar. A new level 50 level up raid is available in Phase 3, the Temple of Atal Hakar, aka the Sunken Temple. This is a newly revamped 20-player raid version of the classic Temple of Atal Hakar dungeon with all new encounters and mechanics and, of course, new loot. Classes. Developer's note: below are a few of the class adjustments coming to WoW Classic Season of Discovery Patch 1.15.2. Please note that this list is not comprehensive, and there are other minor adjustments coming not documented here, but these represent the most impactful changes coming in this patch. Where I'm personally not someone who really cares too much about balance changes in general, at least in MMOs, where I'm never too much of a competitive person, but looking at Shaman, Spirit of the Ruin Alpha, the Loyal Beta effect that the Shaman would gain upon casting Spirit to the Alpha on another friendly target now grants a flat 5% damage bonus to the Shaman who cast it was attack power, as well as granting that Shaman a 30% reduction in threat generated. Lava Lash Rune has been adjusted, now deals 100 offhand weapon damage on hit. This damage bonus is now increased to 125% if your offhand weapon is enchanted with Flame Tongue. Developer's note: the damage of Lava Lash should essentially be the same, but we've instead shifted more of the damage of this ability to the bonus gained when using Flame Tongue weapon on the offhand. Way of the Earth Rune now requires a shield in the offhand to gain this ability's beneficial effects. Rockbiter weapon spell, the attack power bonus has been reduced, where apparently I have been using Wind Fury weapon and Flame Tongue weapon a lot, but apparently I should have been rocking double Rockbiter weapons, but it looks like with this phase they have kind of tuned it a little bit, where the double Rockbiter is less good and then Wind Fury and Flame Tongue is a little bit better, so I guess I'll just keep rocking some Flame Tongue stuff. But they gave some information about Hunters, Warlocks, and Warriors that I'm just going to skip over. Gnomegarden Professions. The recipes sold by Ziri, the Wrenched Little Sprocket, after players completed the quest Salvaging the Salvage-O-Matic, have been significantly reduced in price. An additional teleporter has been added to the base of the pillar where Wardall Wondergear resides at Fearless to allow players who fall off or are evicted by Wardall's security team to get back up without needing to travel all the way to Booty Bay to be teleported by Scooty. The Blood Moon. The existing Bloodstained commendation items have been removed from Mei Zin's vendor list. These commendations have been replaced with a new version of the Bloodstained commendation that is now purchasable with a new Massacre coin currency that will be available from players level 48 and above. Please note that any existing Bloodstained commendations players have in their inventory when patch 1.15.2 is released will now have a 2-week real-world duration and will expire after that time and disappear from your inventory. Please use these coins before Tuesday, April 16th. Additional rewards have been added to my Zin, available at level 50 using the new Massacre coin currency. So I think this is mostly a way to add like new stuff where people have to go back and do Stranglethorn without kind of using a bunch of currency that they've had stocked up, which is probably overall a good thing. The quests Repelling Invaders and Clear the Forest may now be completed daily, was weekly, and this is for the Battle for Ashenvale, where these are the big quests to basically kill the bosses or whatever it was, and you would get experience for the Warsong Gulch reputation, where this basically allows people to gain Exalted with Warsong Gulch much faster and much faster outside of the battleground because there are some issues with Warsong Gulch that's going on. But quests, the repeatable Wastewander Water Pouches turn-in quest in Gadgetzan no longer grants experience in Season of Discovery, where this is basically to prevent people from exploiting. The repeatable Churro Necklace turn-in quest in Airy Peak no longer grants experience in Season of Discovery, where this is basically to prevent exploiting. The repeatable Warsong Gulch and Arathi Basin's Mark of Honor quest in the level 30 to 59 level ranges no longer grant experience in Season of Discovery, where this is basically to prevent exploiting. Any extra Warsong Gulch Marks of Honor gained past 20 will now once again mail the player the extra marks. However, marks cannot be restored via the self-service mail recovery system on the Battle.net support site, so you will need to claim and use these marks within 24 hours, where this is basically to prevent people from exploiting. The level 50 class quests from the Temple of Atalhakar now grant players all of their loot options rather than a choice of options. Developers note, one common issue with these quests is that some of the rewards could be a bit of a trap to newer or less experienced original WoW players, where there are a few trinkets in particular that may not look appealing at first glance but have a lot of ongoing power or utility. Less experienced players would often pass on those rewards in favor of a more immediate armor upgrade, only to find out later that they made a mistake. Because these quests are now raid quests that oftentimes take the player deep within the new raid, we felt it was appropriate to be a bit generous here to allow players to gain all 3 rewards for their class quest. Please note, we did not adjust these rewards at all for the Season of Discovery, as most of them are already quite powerful. Dungeon loot updates. Many items found in Zulfrak, Odaman, Muradin, and Blackrock depths have been revamped with new and updated stats. PvP honor system. With the release of Season of Discovery Phase 3, players will again gain the ability to rank up in the PvP honor system, with the rank cap being increased to rank 7. A new set of level 50 PvP gear has been added to the PvP vendors in Stormwind and Orgrimmar. Boots and gloves are available at rank 5, shoulders and legs are available at rank 6, and chest and helm are available at rank 7. Where I think all these are pretty good changes, both the dungeon loot updates and the PvP honor systems, to kind of flesh out this part of the game, and to basically, with the dungeons, to bring dungeons in line to the Temple of Atalhakar raid, to make it more relevant for players to prepare to go into that raid, and to also just farm this to become more powerful. Where we've seen an issue where people don't do a lot of the dungeons and aren't the level up dungeons turn raids. And then lastly, dual talent specialization. Players will be able to seek out the dashing dwarven explorer Grindag Brightbeard, who can teach them to learn a second talent specialization. Players can find Grindag in Ironforge, in the Forlorn Cavern, and in Orgrimmar in the Valley of Strength. Players need to be level 40 to purchase a second talent specialization, where this is one of the most requested changes for Season of Discovery, where people really wanted dual talent specialization in the game, and it's pretty exciting to have it in the Season of Discovery, where it's not really like a vanilla thing, but it is definitely a good thing for Season of Discovery, especially since Season of Discovery really focuses on the idea of playing multiple classes because of all the different things that you can unlock in the Season of Discovery. where we are now level 40, which is super exciting because this is a massive milestone in any World of Warcraft journey, at least in the classic version of the game. Even in like the modern versions of the game, I think it's kind of a big milestone. But with level 40, we have unlocked many things, where one of the things is all the new skills that I have gained, where I have gone to my class trainer and I have learned some new skills, which is always really fun and exciting. But with level 40, that means that we have reached the bottom of our chosen specialization talent tree, where I could put points into like multiple trees as I'm going down, which means at level 40 we wouldn't be at the end. But because I've only put points into the enhancement talent tree, I can now unlock Storm Strike, which this is a 61 mana instant cast 6-second cooldown melee range attack, which gives you an extra attack. In addition, nature damage dealt to the target is increased by 20 for 12 seconds, so I think this is like really good for our Earth Shock and also for our Lightning Bolt. So I can go ahead, throw my talent point into here, and we have now unlocked it, which if I come into my enhancement tree, we can find it right here. And I need to reorganize this a little bit, I think. But we now have Storm Strike, which is fantastic to have and use as an enhancement shaman. And I can go ahead and come to this level 7, which we might like just one-shot it, but we can just take a quick sneak peek at what it looks like, and it is very cool. And I got some waylaid supplies, that's fun. But we can go ahead and just have this on our bar, and I'm going to be using this all the time. It is 61 mana, so it's definitely going to add a little bit to our mana cost. It's like only like a fifth of the cost of a shock, which is nice. But we will be using this a lot as we adventure from here on out. But when we reach to level 20, we got a Ghost Wolf, which is what I'm using right now, which increases our running speed by 40%. And this is a very special thing for shamans, where there are only a few other classes that gain some of these bonuses, where hunters gain one like this at level 20, and then druids gain one like this at level 30, but everyone at level 40 can unlock their first mount, which this is always a super exciting experience in World of Warcraft, because unlocking mounts is like one of the best parts of the game and is one of the most popular parts of the game, where mounts are a very popular thing in MMORPGs just because they're really cool and they're also very convenient, where we have games like Guild Wars 2 that have a very cool mount system. But looking back at World of Warcraft, it is mostly just a speed bonus, which is, you know, kind of par for the course for a lot of like older MMOs, but it is definitely a very cool and fun aspect of World of Warcraft that I love a lot. And I always love to unlock the mounts, and I just really love the mount system in this game and all the different mounts you can unlock, where at the start of the game, basically where we are at right now, level 40, for the most part, we can only unlock a certain few mounts, and that is our racial mount for orcs, where we can gain exalted with the other 3 horde cities, and we could go and buy their mount, but we are nowhere near close to exalted with any of them, including our Orgrimmar reputation, which isn't even revered yet, though it is our best reputation. But there are also mounts that we can get from Otrag Valley, which is going to be the 3rd battleground that we see in the game after Arathi Basin, which we haven't explored yet, but we've talked about it a lot. And then there are some special dungeon and raid drops and a few other mounts that you can unlock in the game, and the mount system in World of Warcraft gets expanded on a lot over the years with its expansions, and mounts are basically one of the most important things of any expansion, because players will always flock to any piece of content that has mounts in it in order to unlock those mounts. It's just a big part of the game. But as an orc player, we can go ahead and unlock our orc ratio mount, which is one of my favorites in the entire game, and it is the wolf, where in like the Wrath of the Lich King expansion, we can go ahead and go to Orgrimmar in order to learn how to ride a wolf. But in vanilla World of Warcraft, aka in the Season of Discovery, we have to come over to this settlement over here in the Barrens, where this is one of like the furthest away places you have to go to get a mount in the game, where humans have to go all the way across Elven Forest, and then gnomes and dwarves have to go right outside Ironforge, and then night elves have their vendor in Darnassus. Where is the vendor here actually? And I think I have been played or my memory is absolutely horrible, but apparently the vendor is actually in Orgrimmar. I'm so confused. Why did I think the vendor's here? The vendor was here before, right? I'm not going crazy. In vanilla Warcraft, you have to come here to buy the wolf. I swear you had to come here. But anyways, let's go ahead and go to Orgrimmar and go to where you actually buy the wolves. But Torn go out to Bloodhoof Village, and Undead go to Brill, and then Trolls can go to Sinjin Village in order to buy all their mounts, and apparently Orcs can come to the Valley of Honor and we can buy our wolf here, which is very interesting, and I have absolutely no idea why I thought it was different. That's gonna bother me. I'm gonna have to do some research to find if the wolf mounts were ever sold at the vendor there in the Barrens. But anyways, that was a fun little trip that we went on. But let's go ahead and come over this way into the Valley of Honor, where I believe if we come up to this area over here, we can find all of the hunter trainers. And if we come to this pen way back here, we can see all of these different wolves and a wolf riding instructor, where in the vanilla version of World of Warcraft, it is pretty costly in order to buy one of these mounts, and it is still pretty costly in the Season of Discovery, but it is roughly halved in price, where we only have to spend 9 gold to get wolf riding, and then we can come to the Kennel Master here and we only have to spend 36 gold, where it's roughly twice this cost. But we see here that the Swift Wolves are still 900 gold, so you still have to put forward a decent amount of money. But we can go ahead and buy a Dire Wolf, a Timber Wolf, or a Brown Wolf, where we can see that the Timber Wolf looks like this right there, and then the Dire Wolf looks like that, and the Brown Wolf looks like that. And I think I might go with the Dire Wolf. Timber Wolf also looks pretty cool, and the Brown Wolf looks cool, but I think I'm going to go ahead and go with the Dire Riding Wolf. So let's come to the Kennel Master, and we can go ahead and get the horn of the Dire Wolf. So we can go ahead and spend 36 gold for that, and this is now an item that is in our inventory, so I can go ahead and throw it right there, and I can throw it onto our action bar, where we don't have any collection system or mount tabs in the vanilla version of the game. It is only here in our backpack, which could change with the Season of Discovery. We could see that introduced, but it is not a vanilla thing at all. But let's go ahead and we can click on this to get onto our mount, where we actually have to bind it to us first, but it is a 3-second cast time, and we can now start riding away, where our Ghost Wolf was a 40% speed increase, and we can see that this is a 60% speed increase, which is very fun. So we are now moving around the world much faster, though I think it is, yeah, so Ghost Wolf is only a 1-second cast time because we threw in a couple of talent points here to reduce the cast time by 2 seconds, which is very nice. And we will probably continue to use Ghost Wolf every now and then because it is useful in some certain situations, but we are probably definitely going to be using our Dire Wolf from here on out, which is fun. And we can go ahead and ride our wolf off into battle, which battle is where I want to head to next, where I want to go ahead and leave the city of Orgrimmar, and we can go ahead and begin exploring a brand new zone that we explored quite a bit on our human mage character, but I have not explored yet on my Orc Shaman in the Season of Discovery. And that zone is Dust Wallow Marsh, which is a very cool zone that I want to spend the rest of this episode looking at as we play through the quests, but I kind of want to talk about some other things as we do that, where this is a zone that was a pretty big part of Warcraft 3, and this is a zone that we could have been at for a while now, and I think this is pretty much going to be the only episode that I spend in the zone, except maybe returning here in the future as we kind of do a couple of quests here just to gain some extra experience as we are leveling further down the line. And then there is like one very special thing I want to do in this zone several episodes from now, but I'm going to leave that as a secret for now. where the big part about this zone is Theramore Isle, which is located right here, and you can see some of the docks coming off of it, which is a very, very cool alliance outpost. But we have a very cool horde outpost here, where ogres are kind of a member of the horde, and people have been wanting to play as an ogre character for a very long time as a member of the horde, and still in the modern day version of World of Warcraft we cannot do that, but people really hope that we get to see them in the future as a playable race. And they are kind of a prominent member of the horde, especially during like Warcraft 1 and Warcraft 2, where they were very big members of the horde with the invasion into Azeroth. And now in World of Warcraft we can still kind of interact with some ogres allied with the horde, and the biggest storyline related to that is in Dustwallow Marsh, where there's a lot of story related to like Warcraft 3 that is kind of continued here, where we've talked quite a bit about that in the past, where there is a lot of tensions between Theramore and then Orgrimmar, and then with the Cataclysm expansion we've seen that this place becomes kind of a big war zone, at least in like the southern barrens that is reinforced from Theramore, and then Theramore of course gets destroyed. But all in all, I think this is a very solid zone with some great quests that I kind of just want to highlight, and we can explore it a little bit more in the future as well. But let's go ahead and get over there. But now that we are at Camp Drawhole, we can go ahead and get on our dire wolf again, which is very fun, and we can go ahead and ride it out of the town and deeper into the southern barrens, where the entrance to Dustwallow Marsh we can see is here with the road in the southern barrens. But we could also run over by North Watchhold, where we have this coastline here, and we can follow the coastline into Dustwallow Marsh if we wanted. And then of course we could like swim around and like stuff like that, and we could probably like find a way over these mountains to drop down into Dustwallow. But basically the main way for horde players to get into Dustwallow Marsh is to come down the gold road here and then to take the road east into Dustwallow. We look so cool. Oh, we look so cool. We're like a Farseer shaman with this really cool headdress on, and then we have these shoulders, and then we look like a murder hobo with all our different gear pieces here, and then we're on our wolf. This is just peak World of Warcraft. Look at that level 20 human warlock running along the road. But we have this very cool orc watchtower right here with this banner, and it's burnt down a little bit. And then here we have the crossing, where we can go ahead and take this road to Dustwallow Marsh, where we have continued down this road to get to Baal Modan and to get to the Thousand Needles, and we will be exploring more places further south in Kalimdor, where we do have some quests to go over towards these areas of the world and to do some things in these places, but that is going to be for future episodes. Where today, let's go ahead and continue into Dustwallow, where we can see it coming up now, where we see a massive transition from kind of like the brown plains of the Barrens into the gray mountains of Dustwallow. And Dustwallow Marsh is aptly named because it is a marsh. It is a swampy zone, where next episode we will be exploring another swampy zone. But right off the bat, here in Dustwallow Marsh, we can see the Shady Rest Inn, which is a pretty big storyline in this map, where we can go ahead and come around here, and we can see that there's a Theramore guard badge, and we can see that there was some sort of incident that happened here, and we can go ahead and collect some evidence, and we can go ahead and bring it to the town that we are heading to, where I need to get these hoof prints here. And these hoof prints, just a little bit of a spoiler, belong to the Grim Totem Torrens, where the Grim Totem, yet again in this map, play a pretty big and important part of this map. But I'm going to go ahead and continue out this way, where we can go ahead and head south deeper into the marsh, where there are some cool things down there, where we can see one Tabitha who's giving us a quest for Tiara of the Deep. But we can go ahead and continue along this road, where we can take the road right over there in order to get towards Theramore along the structured road. But we also have this little bit of a beaten path here, where we are going to have an ogre right here that we can chat with, Mud Crushed Dirtfeet, who's giving us a quest called Hungry, where we can go ahead and fight some murlocs. But then we can go ahead and continue further down the road here. And this zone is just very Kalimdor for me, because it's very kind of like ragged and barren and like very like primal, I guess you could say. And we have the ogre camp right here, which is very exciting that we finally get to come to this place, because I've been excited to come to here to Brackenwall Village, where we can see that there are a ton of ogres and a ton of defenses here with a bunch of walls, and this is a very well fortified area with this really cool watchtower here, and of course some orcs and some other people around here, like this flight master, who I guess is an orc as well, where we can go ahead and get this flight path, and we can see that we are now connected to Orgrimmar, which we are directly connected to, and we can fly directly there. But then we also have Wretched and all these other places across Kalimdor. And then we have a bunch of different quests around here that we can pick up, and these 3 that we can turn in. So let's go ahead and turn this in, and we are going to get more quests as we do this, and we can go ahead and pick up these other quests around here, and we can go ahead and just gain a bunch of experience, where we can go ahead and I think I'll hold off from picking up the level 43 quests for now, but I can go ahead and turn in this quest over here. And we can go ahead and get some venom sacks, and then we have this quest right here where we can go ahead and fight some of the Theramore humans. And then I think that is everything that I am going to do right now. And we have this quest right here that we can go ahead and do, where this person was just like talking to this person, and I don't entirely remember what this quest is, but let's go ahead and just, we are level 40 against level 45, and we are probably going to die here, so let's go ahead and use let's get healing, and then let's try to heal our warrior friend here, for I might just go on restoration duty, and I might just try to heal this person over and over, and then looks like this quest isn't to kill this ogre. I'm not 100% sure. But let's go ahead and just continue doing this, and we can just have this fun fight. And I am running out of mana, and this is not going to be a good thing for me or for this person, because I think they are about to die. And I'm kind of considering what my options are right now. Maybe we can get... I don't think we're going to get... Okay, let's try to get this healing wave off before he gets... okay, well... Okay, let's do this. And let's drop this one here. And then that person's just sitting there instead of running back, where I can only kite for so long. And I just died. Where we can now go ahead and exit out of this location, and we can head into Dustwallow Marsh, and we can begin doing a bunch of quests, where that was a very interesting bridge there. So let's go ahead and do that and talk about some more things with the Season of Discovery. Whereas we continue our questing experience, I want to talk about a few things related to the Season of Discovery and to World of Warcraft in general. Where there have been a lot of kind of issues that have arisen in the Season of Discovery from kind of like a community standpoint, which kind of ruins a lot of things for a lot of players, and I kind of just want to discuss it a little bit. Where largely for me, I am not someone who cares too much about any of this, because I'm someone who mostly plays by myself in this, and I'm just exploring the world, doing quests and doing things by myself. However, we can look at some economical issues in the game that do impact me a little bit, because the economy in Season of Discovery is kind of getting out of whack a little bit, but I think overall it's kind of in favor for me, where I am able to generate a lot of liquid gold just by selling some things that I'm naturally collecting out in the world on the auction house, because people have so much gold that they can just pump into the economy, so that I'm getting a little bit of gold, so it makes it a little bit easier for me to like get all of these like special like things with like the amount that I just unlocked, where it was really easy to get this gold, and then it's also nice that they have the price of this mount. But if you look at the nightmare incursions that were added with this update, these are probably not something that I'm really going to take a deep dive look at. I might like sniff it a little bit when we get to like the hinterlands and kind of just check out the area, where I don't think I really want to participate in this too much. But this is kind of an example of gaming culture with like the phenomenon that has happened with the release of these nightmare incursions, where there's this kind of idea in gaming communities, specifically in like MMOs, but we can also see this in like any multiplayer game really, and not really in single player games I guess, but it is the idea of exploit early, exploit often, where many people in the world will always choose the path of least resistance when it comes to games, where World of Warcraft is a game where there is some resistance in the game, where you have to like do things, you have to play the game, you have to kill monsters and complete quests to level up, and you have to do dungeons to get gear to be able to like do further raids and stuff like that, and you have to do things to achieve things in the game. And many people are always going to try to do those things the easiest way possible, where we see this a lot with like the economical issues that I talked about, where there are so many people that will just swipe a credit card in order to get free gold with like the money from real life. So it's not really free, but it's like free from their time playing World of Warcraft, where they don't want to play the game to be able to get the gold. They just want to be able to get the gold from swiping their credit card, which is a very interesting thing. But that's kind of like an example of the path of least resistance, because why would you go out into the world of Azeroth to farm plants to sell in the auction house to get gold when you can just swipe your credit card if you are in a position where you have enough money to just throw away at random gold in a seasonal server in a 20-year-old video game? But with Nightmare Incursions, we saw that people were able to earn a ton of experience and a ton of gold in a very short amount of time. So people who were able to log on within like the first few hours of the patch coming out, which I was fortunately able to play during that time as well, except I didn't do the Nightmare Incursions. I was just like questing and having fun doing quests because that's what I wanted to do. But people were farming these incursions and getting a ton of gold and a ton of experience, and it was more than the developers intended. But the developers nerfed the amount of gold and experience you could gain from this, meaning that anyone who wasn't able to play at the very start of launch basically lost out on like basically 1,000 free gold in the game. That's like your epic amount free just from having played for like 3 hours on launch day, which is insane. And it is 100% like right that they nerfed that, because that is an insane amount of gold that like a lot of people just gained. But it's kind of that idea that people were kind of just exploiting the game, where it's not necessarily specifically exploiting because it was present in the game and it was new content, so you don't really know what the expectations are. But in hindsight, it is definitely exploiting. And if you look at like some discussion and like some streams around that time, people were very aware that something was wrong with this and that this was probably going to get nerfed, and people were desperately trying to do as much as possible before it did get nerfed, which is kind of interesting. And that overall is just like a bunch of ideas that kind of just ruin a lot of like multiplayer games for me, where people will definitely try to like cheat and to like take advantage of different situations to get out ahead of everyone else, which I really find really interesting in a community-based game. And over the years, I'm someone who's kind of like lost some interest in like these community-based aspects of like MMOs because of like the MMO community, and basically how I become a bitter old person in my years of having experienced so many different things in different MMO communities and guild communities and stuff like that. But related to that is also the concept of PvP in World of Warcraft. And this is also kind of similar to like the idea of dungeons, I guess, but I'm mostly going to look at PvP, where I've been really interested in doing the Strungothorn PvP event, where I don't think I'm really that interested in doing it anymore, just because I'm not really interested in it, I guess. I just said that like twice. But it's just not something that really appeals to me too much anymore, and I kind of feel like I experienced it enough when we were exploring it a couple of episodes ago when we were in Strungothorn and the event was happening and I saw all these people fighting, so that was kind of fun. But I feel like a lot of like these PvP game modes and MMOs is something that's just not super interesting to me anymore, and I've experienced that in World of Warcraft, and I've experienced that in Guild Wars 2 and many other places as well. Where I think one aspect of that, when it comes to World of Warcraft specifically, is that idea that people will exploit and get ahead so much where they get an unfair advantage against other people, which is kind of unfortunate, but that unfair advantage is always going to exist in a game like World of Warcraft, because that's kind of like the whole appeal of the game, is like gaining more power than everyone else. But the idea that is more prominent for me in World of Warcraft and in other games like Guild Wars 2, and this is a video that I'm kind of making right now and I have been planning to make for a while and will probably release sometime in the future, not in the immediate future, but sometime in the future, is the idea of toxicity, where World of Warcraft, there are a lot of really great people, but when you commit a lot of time to the game, you can find some very horrible people playing the game, and it might only be, one in every, several dungeon runs or PvP games where it's more common than that, but to give people the benefit of the doubt, you can really experience a lot of toxic people when you are active in the community. And that is just a very unfortunate reality of kind of like multiplayer gaming that like has been hurting me a lot recently, and it's kind of something that I've been thinking about, where I've been thinking about like if I want to deal with like these type of people to experience a game that I'm not enjoying a lot because of these type of people, and like where I have fun and where I stop having fun, which is something that I've been thinking about a lot with World of Warcraft. And I've talked about this a few times in my Let's Play series about toxicity, and I'm planning on making like a bigger video about it in the future. Where when it comes to the Season of Discovery and my Let's Play series and like all my World of Warcraft streams, I think it is definitely for the most part where I just really want to focus on what I love most about World of Warcraft, where there are parts of World of Warcraft that I don't enjoy too much anymore, and like some I kind of want to highlight for like nostalgia reasons, but for the most part I think I'm mostly just going to be questing through the Season of Discovery up to level 60, highlighting a few things here and there that I enjoy a lot, and not really interacting a lot with like dungeons and raids and PvP, where I'm not going to be doing too much anymore because of the negative experiences that I've had playing World of Warcraft in recent years, where I always look back at like the early days of World of Warcraft and I'm like, oh, the old days were so much better, where people were less toxic. And I think the amount of toxicity is kind of the same, but it's more that I'm just more aware of it, I guess, and I guess in a way I'm less tolerant because I'm kind of tired. And I think it's unfortunate that people like that kind of ruin games like this, because they are definitely a small part of the community, where overall a lot of people are pretty good, unless it's like Counter-Strike, where a very large chunk of that community is pretty awful. But for the most part, like World of Warcraft is kind of like a good community, where I really enjoyed exploring some of this Season of Discovery in this video, where I really loved playing through some of Stranglethorn Vale, and I have loved playing through Dustwallowed Marsh, and we unlocked our mount in this episode, which is incredible. So this has overall been a very fantastic episode, and I hope you all enjoyed watching, and I hope you all are taking good care of yourselves. Remember to drink some water, check your posture, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time in the world of Azeroth. Goodbye.